Have you ever wanted to change someone in your life? Like tweak this little thing that they do or this little part of their personality because it's so frustrating or hurts your feelings. And so every time they do that, resistance shows up in you in some way, and you keep asking them to change it, or you just keep feeling that resistance within yourself. Let's dive into that today and what we can do about that. I'm Stacy Rocklein, and it's my mission to eradicate loneliness. And one of the things that creates loneliness is pushing people away by not accepting them for who they are. So I was just at coffee with a friend and was talking about this person in my life who frustrates me. And this is the behavior that frustrates me. They can be very passive aggressive. So something will happen and they will be upset or be hurt or be angry. And instead of directly saying, hey, I'm upset or I'm angry or I'm hurt about this thing, can we talk about it? They will just make this passive aggressive passing comment. And then when I say, hey, whoa, that clearly something's bothering you, they will just pretend nothing happened. Can't we just ignore it? Can't we just move on? Nothing to see here. And so that's frustrating to me because, if by the time you're going to make a comment like that, clearly something's bothering you. And yet when I ask, we're not going to have a conversation about it. We're not going to be able to fix it. I'm just supposed to forget that you said anything or guess at what's exactly wrong. So I'm talking with my friend about how frustrated I am about this. And she says, so basically, they keep showing up exactly as they are, and you're not willing to accept that. You're not willing to accept who they are. And I'm like, let's dive into that. Because we have choices. When someone does something that we don't like, that bothers us, we have options. On one side of the spectrum, it's to just end the relationship, walk away. This is a deal breaker. I can't handle this. And I don't even want to have anything to do with this, right? That's an option. The other end is just, you know what? That's them. That's who they are. I accept it. I'm going to stop resisting it. And I'm just going to let them be them. And we're going to stay in our relationship exactly as it is. And all between those places are modifications that you can make. And I don't mean ask the other person to make them, but what you can do. So if you have to accept that something in someone is never going to change, then you have to ask yourself the question, what can you change? Now, maybe it's just a matter of reminding yourself hey, that's just how they do it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Is it okay if this person's passive aggressive in my life? Is it okay that they never want to talk about what's bothering them? Do I still want to be in a relationship with them if they never change? In this case, the answer is yes, I do. But there are things that I can do. I can do some self-coaching so that I can get myself to acceptance if this is just about me. If this is about me wanting to micromanage someone or wanting them to be, the perfect way that I would write them if I was, the author of their character. Or there are boundaries, right? We do get to decide how another person is allowed to treat us and what we're going to do about that and how we're going to engage with that. We can say, you know what? If you don't want to change that behavior, that's totally fine. But I'm not going to stay in a conversation while you're yelling at me, or maybe it is throwing a passive aggressive comment or whatever it is. We can put in a boundary, and the boundary is what then protects the relationship because it tells them, hey, we can't foster this relationship and nurture it unless we respect this stuff. So, and it's not asking them to change. It's just saying, if you aren't willing to change this behavior, here's how I have to protect myself from it. We get to do whatever we need to do and decide what level we want to have this relationship at. There are times when We want something that's closer than the other person is capable of, right? That we have to put boundaries in place to protect ourselves. And what that does do is it also does limit the intimacy level of a relationship. Not everybody is safe for us to go as deep as we want. Not every relationship has that potential for us to take care of ourselves and be vulnerable and also be protected. So we also have to put some realistic glasses on about the relationship that we're choosing to be in. If we're going to stay in it, we know we want it, and we know the other person isn't going to change, or we can at least just expect that they're not going to. What are we going to do? What are we willing to do to keep ourselves safe? Because what frustrates us, what's frustrating for me, is to want the person to be different, and then it happens again. The passive aggressive comment, the refusal to talk about it, the expectation of me to let it go. That happens, then everything's fine for a while. And then I like start to believe this relationship can be closer because nothing's happened for a while. And then passive aggressive comment, not going to talk about it, expected to let it go. And what that tells me over time is that I'm responsible for the part in the middle where I start to want more than this relationship is capable of. I can control that, right? I can control what my expectations of the relationship are. So you have to figure out what you can do. If they're not going to change and you want the relationship, what can you do? Are you going to have to downgrade your expectations of the relationship? Are you going to just have to coach yourself away from your own frustration? There are measures that you can take so that you can be safe and comfortable in a relationship. And boundaries are one of them. So if you need some help with boundaries, you can pick up the Boundary Blueprint. This is a free PDF download to help you with the kind of pre-work and boundary work and post-work. It's sort of a whole process if you're not doing it as a process. So make sure you grab that. If you have relationships in your life where you're tired of being frustrated, you're tired of wanting them to change and them not changing, you want to stay in the relationship, but you've got to figure out how to do that in the safest way for you possible so that you can bring your best self to it. And just want to leave you with the thought that we're all different and we can let go of our expectation that someone else is a certain perfect way or the relationship is a certain amount of intimacy and save ourselves a lot of suffering, because that's just attaching ourselves to a reality that doesn't exist right now. And that is the source of all human suffering. So pick up the Boundary Blueprint if you need help with that. Get realistic about your relationships. Do the things that you can do to keep yourself safe and make them thrive and nurture them. And happy close relationships to you. I'll see you next time.